Welcome to the Deconstructionist Deep Dive.
The podcast that doesn't just accept the story.
We break it
We examine the pieces.
and expose the machinery inside.
Let's dive in.
What if the most seductive spiritual path being sold today, the return to lost Essene teachings, the resurrection of Christ's consciousness within, the promise of merging heaven and earth through purity, diet, and inner work, isn't liberation at all, but the most elegant upgrade to the same old soul recycling program?
That is a really heavy question to put on the table. And I have to say, looking at the stack of research we have in front of us, it's going to rattle some cages.
It is.
We are looking at what we're calling the Essene New Age mystical Christian synthesis. And I know that is a mouthful. But if you're listening to the show, you have almost certainly seen it.
Oh, absolutely.
You've probably scrolled past it on Instagram, with the beautiful aesthetic of raw foods and sun gazing. You've seen the books on the shelves of your local metaphysical shop. It's everywhere.
It's omnipresent in the alternative community. It's that very, very specific blend of Jesus was actually a vegetarian master combined with the church hid the truth to control you.
Right.
And then it's all topped off with a heavy dose of you need to raise your vibration to ascend to the fourth density. And look, our mission today is very specific. We have a primary directive from our source material. We need to trace how this belief system creates a deferral of sovereignty.
Deferral of sovereignty. That's a dense phrase. We should probably break that down before we even start.
Let's do it.
It's the idea that your power, your freedom, your divinity, it's always just around the corner, right? It's promised in a future life, or it's promised after you finish this, 40-day juice cleanse.
Or when the collective ascension happens.
Exactly. It's always coming, but it never actually arrives. It's perpetually in the future.
It pushes your power out of the now and into the not yet.
Yeah.
And so for this deep dive, I'm here to look at the structural fractures. I want to expose the deception types, the vulnerabilities, and the logic.
The nuts and bolts.
Yeah. I want to take a sledgehammer to the architecture of this belief system and see if it stands up to scrutiny. Because if you build your life on a foundation that is factually rot, the structure will eventually collapse on top of you.
And I'm here to look at the emotional levers. Because you can smash the logic all day, but people don't just believe things because of dry logic.
No.
They believe them because they satisfy a deep hunger. Why is this specific narrative so seductive? Why do we want to believe that eating raw vegetables will save our souls? Why does the idea of a secret Jesus feel so much better than the one we learned about in Sunday school? That's what I want to unpack.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The architecture of this new old faith. We have to start with a narrative rebranding.
The story.
Yes, the story. The source material identifies this as the foundational hook.
Mm-hmm.
The central claim here is that Jesus, or Yeshua, as he is almost always called in these circles, to, emphasize the distance from the church.
Right, to make him sound more authentic, more original.
Exactly. That he was not the founder of the sacrificial religion we know as Christianity. Instead, he was an Essene master, an initiate of the Nazarene sect.
And this is such a powerful hook. I mean, it completely reframes the entire history of the West. It says, everything you were told in Sunday school was a lie.
A deliberate lie.
Deliberate lie. And we have to acknowledge the pain that fuels this. For a lot of people who have been hurt by the church or who just feel like the mainstream story of sin and hell doesn't fit their intuition, this is incredibly validating. It offers a romanticized, hidden history.
Right.
It tells you that little feeling you had, that there must be more to the story, was right all along. You were right, and the establishment was wrong.
And that feels good.
Uh-huh.
It also creates a hero, but more importantly, it creates a villain. You can't have a conspiracy without a conspirator.
Of course.
In this narrative, the villain is the church, and specifically the Apostle Paul. The narrative goes that the canonical Gospels, and especially Paul's letters, are a corrupted hijacking.
The Pauline corruption.
Exactly. They claim these are false teachings designed for control, whereas the red letters, the words of Jesus himself, supposedly align perfectly with these secret Essene purity teachings.
It's a classic us versus them setup, but it feels so intellectual. It feels like you've uncovered a suppression mechanism. You're not just disagreeing, you're a historical detective.
Mm-hmm.
The logic is that institutional Christianity Catholicism, Pauline theology, is a deliberate inversion. They say the church uses fear, external control, blood sacrifice, all to keep you down. But the Essene path, that claims to restore original perfection. It feels like you are joining the resistance.
And who doesn't want to be part of the resistance? Who doesn't want to possess the real truth that the masses are too asleep to see? But here's the kicker. This leads directly to a massive shift in how salvation works. The promise isn't just that you get a nicer, healthier version of Jesus.
Yeah, it's much bigger than that.
The promise is that you become him. The doctrine states that Christ is not a person to worship, but an achievable consciousness state.
And this is the emotional hook that really sinks the barb in. It tells you that the second coming isn't Jesus coming down from the clouds on a white horse to judge the living and the dead.
Oh.
It's an internal resurrection. It's you waking up, and wow, that feels incredibly empowering. It takes the power away from the priest in the pulpit and puts it squarely in your hands. It tells you that you are the vessel.
But does it really put the power in your hands? I mean, really? Or does it just give you a different, more demanding set of orders?
Good question.
Let's look at the mechanism here. This system rejects faith alone blood atonement. That's the standard Christian idea that you're saved because you believe in the sacrifice. Instead, this synthesis swaps it for works-based purification.
Right. It says, you don't need a savior to pay your debt. You need to do the work to clear your vessel. It's all on you.
And on the surface, that sounds great. I can become Christ. I'm in control. But I'm flagging this right now as the first step of the trap. You are replacing an external savior, someone who does the heavy lifting for you, with an endless, grueling internal project. You are replacing you are forgiven with you are not pure yet.
That is a crucial distinction. In the church model, you're flawed, but loved and redeemed. In this Essene model, you are potentially divine, but currently toxic.
Riddled with toxicity.
And the burden of removing that toxicity falls 100% on you. And because the goal is Christ consciousness, which is, let's face it, a pretty high bar.
An impossible bar, maybe.
The work is never done. You're always one step away. There is always one more parasite cleanse, one more shadow work session, one more past life to integrate before you're ready.
It's the ultimate carrot on a stick. And to understand how this trap is baited, we have to look at the foundation. Because this entire belief system rests on a stack of books. And this is where we need to perform some historical surgery. We have to talk about the Essene Gospel of Peace.
Ah, yes, the holy grail of this movement. If you talk to anyone deep in the Essene New Age scene, this book is their Bible. It's usually what's quoted on the nice Instagram graphics.
Eat not the flesh of slain beasts, and all of that.
That's the one.
And here is where I have to drop the hammer. Our source material categorizes this under evidentiary bafflement and vulnerability 1, the harsh reality. The Essene Gospel of Peace is widely considered by serious scholars, religious and secular alike, to be a modern forgery.
Okay, let's explain that a bit, because people reading it, they feel like it's ancient, it reads like scripture, it has the rhythm, the these and thous. How can it be a forgery?
It was published in the 20th century. Specifically, it started coming out in 1937 by a man named Edmond Bordeaux Szekely. He was a Hungarian philosopher and a natural living enthusiast.
So not a first century scribe.
Not exactly. He claimed he found the original Aramaic manuscript in the Vatican Secret Archives and another copy in Old Slavonic in the Royal Archives of the Habsburgs in Vienna.
The Secret Archives trope, it's like the preamble to every Dan Brown novel. It's irresistible. The church has the truth locked away in a vault. It's such a powerful narrative device.
It is. But here's the problem. Szekely never produced the original manuscript. He never produced a photograph of the manuscript. He never let any independent scholars examine his notes.
So no proof.
Zero. And when researchers went to the National Library in Vienna to find the Habsburg copy he claimed was there, it didn't exist. There was no record of it. The Vatican has absolutely no record of his visit or the document he claimed to have translated.
So the chain of custody is non-existent, completely broken. But what about the content? I mean, could it be that he channeled it or maybe translated it from memory? People will make those arguments.
They do, but the text itself betrays him. It uses concepts and language that simply didn't exist in first century Aramaic or Hebrew. It talks about enzymes.
Enzymes in an ancient text.
Yes. It talks about biogenic and biostatic foods. These are terms from 20th century naturopathy. And it describes angels not as messengers of Yahweh, but as elemental forces. Angel of sun, angel of water, angel of air.
Which is very Sikh, pagan almost. Nature worship.
It maps perfectly onto the nature cure movement that was popular in Europe in the 1920s and 30s. It's Szekely's personal philosophy.
So essentially, he took his own health philosophy, which was arguably very advanced for the time, I'll grant him that, and he put it in the mouth of Jesus to give it divine authority.
Precisely. It fits the deception type we call the false ancient text. It's exactly the same mechanism as Nicholas Nodovich's The Unknown Life of Jesus, which claimed Jesus went to India and studied with Buddhists.
Which was also exposed as a fraud.
Also exposed as a fraud.
Yeah.
But once the idea is out there, it's sticky.
Mhm.
It's incredibly difficult to retract.
It's sticky because of the why. Why do we cling to a forgery? I think it's the nostalgia for lost Edenic purity. We look at the modern world, processed food, pollution, factory farming, stress, corruption, and we hate it. It feels wrong.
It does feel wrong.
We want to believe that there was a time, an ancient time, where people lived in perfect harmony with nature, where they ate raw fruits and talked to angels and lived to be 120. This book gives us that story.
It provides an ancient authority for modern desires.
Yeah.
You want to be healthy. You want to feel pure. You want to feel special. Well, here's a 2,000-year-old text that tells you exactly what you want to hear. And because it uses biblical language, and Jesus said to them, it completely bypasses your critical thinking. You hear the voice of God, but it's actually the voice of a 20th century health enthusiast named Edmond.
And the mechanism here is brilliant. Our source calls it bafflement conceals modern forgery status. It sounds so mystical, so high vibration that to question the footnotes feels low vibration.
Right. You're being too mental, too 3D.
Exactly. I can hear the defense now. Who cares if it's historically accurate? It feels true. The advice works. I feel better when I eat this way.
It resonates. That's
Yeah.
the ultimate shield. But if the foundation is a lie, the structure is unstable. You are basing your eternal soul's trajectory on a work of fiction.
And that fictional structure leads us directly into the most controlling aspect of this faith. This isn't just about reading a book. It's about how you live every single hour of your life.
We have to move to the somatic trap. We have to talk about the diet.
This is where it gets personal. Because food is intimate. Food is culture. Food is comfort. And this system turns it into a weapon against yourself.
It does. The source material is explicitly clear here. Physical purification is mandatory. And we aren't just talking about eating clean or cutting out gluten.
No, this is way beyond that.
We are talking about strict vegetarianism, often raw veganism, fasting regimes that would make monk blush, and these rituals called elemental communions.
And the logic isn't just about health, is it? It's framed as spiritual mechanics.
Precisely. The idea is that you are preparing the vessel. You cannot hold Christ consciousness, which is a high-frequency energy, in a dense, toxic body. So you have to scrub the inside of the cup.
And if you eat dead animals, you are ingesting the vibration of death and fear, and that lowers your frequency, making ascension impossible. That's the core belief.
But look at the language our source uses. This functions as a frequency anchor. It binds your consciousness to material management.
Oh, that's good. Material management.
Think about the sheer mental bandwidth required to maintain this level of purity. If your spiritual salvation depends on exactly what you put in your mouth, how much of your day is spent thinking about food?
All of it. I mean, I've seen this in people. It becomes an obsession. Sourcing the food, preparing the food, worrying if the food was cooked above 118 degrees because that kills the enzymes.
Feeling guilty if you ate a piece of cheese at a party.
Yes. It turns every single meal into a moral exam, a spiritual test that you can fail.
Exactly. It locks your consciousness into the physical body. You think you're becoming spiritual, but you are becoming hypermaterial. You are obsessed with the biochemistry of your vehicle. You aren't transcending the body, you are serving it.
And there's a philosophical trap here too, right? The source calls it natural law. The claim is do no harm. The idea is that killing an animal is a violation of the universal law of love and therefore lowers your frequency. It sounds so compassionate, so beautiful.
It does sound beautiful, but I have to point out the observational vulnerability here. And this is where we have to be ruthless with reality. Look at nature. Just look at it. Nature is predation. Lions eat gazelles. Birds eat worms. Microbes eat other microbes. The soil itself is composed of the decay of billions of organisms. Life eats life.
That's undeniable.
Do no harm is a beautiful moral projection that humans invented, but is not a universal law of physical nature. To claim that eating meat is unnatural is to deny the reality of the ecosystem we live in.
That's a hard pill to swallow for the empath because we want nature to be like a Disney movie. We want it to be peaceful and kind. But you're saying that by trying to live up to a nature that doesn't actually exist, we create a conflict with reality.
We declare war on biology. And when you declare war on biology, you lose. But that doesn't stop the emotional cycle. And this is what I want you to map out, the energetic flow. Because it starts with guilt, doesn't it?
It does. Guilt is the fuel for the whole engine. You feel guilty about your modern gluttony. You feel sick, sluggish. Maybe you have chronic pain. You feel like something is wrong.
So you start the protocol.
You start the protocol. And initially, Euphoria. The diet glow. You feel lighter, cleaner, your skin clears up, you have more energy, you think, my God, it's working, I'm ascending, I can feel my vibration rising.
That's the high, that's the hook. It feels like proof.
It feels like undeniable proof. But then comes the crash, or the plateau, or the inevitable slip-up, because maintaining a 100% raw purity diet is incredibly difficult in the modern world.
That's almost impossible.
And because the doctrine says your spiritual state is tied to your diet, a dietary slip-up becomes a spiritual sin. You didn't just eat a burger, you lowered your frequency. You distanced yourself from God. You fell back into 3D density.
Which creates more guilt.
Which creates more guilt, which leads to more purification, which leads to a temporary high, and then another crash. It creates a loop.
The somatic focus. You become locked in biochemical compliance. And the critique here is devastating. This is the vessel perfection prerequisite. You spend so much time polishing the mirror that you never actually look into it.
What?
You spend so much time preparing the vessel for Christ that you never actually live as the Spirit. You are a janitor in your own temple, forever scrubbing the floors, waiting for the guest of honor to arrive. But the guest never arrives because the scrubbing never ends.
That is a haunting image, the eternal janitor, just stuck in a loop of self-improvement that has no finish line.
And this brings us to the next level of the prison. If the somatic trap locks down your body, the metaphysical prison locks down your sense of time. We need to talk about reincarnation and the future.
Right. This is where we move from the plate to the soul's journey across millennia.
Specifically, the outline highlights the deferral of sovereignty via reincarnation. This system affirms reincarnation. It says Jesus was likely a reincarnation of Buddha or Enoch. It says the Essenes were a purified lineage designed to bring these avatars into the world, and it implies that you are on a similar track.
And on the surface, reincarnation sounds fair. It appeals to our sense of justice. It's like school. You learn lessons, you pass tests, you graduate, you move up a grade. If you fail, you repeat the grade. It makes sense to our linear minds.
But I call it soul recycling bait. Look at the mechanism. It frames reincarnation as progression, as evolution. But what does that do to you right now in this moment?
It creates a temporal ego. It makes you think of yourself as a project spanning thousands of years. And it specifically targets the belief that this time, right now, is special. The source mentions the fourth density transition. This is huge in the New Age.
It's massive. The idea that the Earth is splitting, there's the 3D Earth that is heavy and full of fear, and a fourth density or 5D Earth that is light and full of love, and we are in the harvest. We are in the shift.
The event is always coming. The energies are peaking. The solar flares are activating our DNA. You see this language everywhere.
But what is the structural result of this belief? It anchors your sovereignty in the future. You aren't sovereign now. You are a work in progress. You are becoming. And as long as you are becoming, you are not being.
It justifies suffering now for a payoff later. I'll suffer through this fast, I'll endure this hardship, I'll tolerate this job I hate because in my next life or when the shift happens, I'll be free. It is a future life deferral.
It's the same old trap. Mainstream religion says, suffer now, heaven later. This New Age synthesis says, purify now, ascension later.
It's the same transaction.
The currency has changed. It's not sin, it's toxicity, it's not heaven, it's fourth density. But the transaction is identical. You are trading your present moment, the only place where you actually exist, for an imaginary future.
And it sets up an infinite ladder. There's always another density, another lesson, another level to attain.
Yes. It mirrors the Tibetan Bardo traps or the light tunnel narratives we've discussed in other deep dives. It's a trick to keep you coming back. If you believe you have lessons to learn, the universe will happily provide you with endless lessons. If you believe you need to evolve, you will stay on the wheel of evolution forever.
This is a radical thought for many listeners. We are conditioned to think of evolution as good, as necessary. But you're saying that the very concept of spiritual evolution is the trap, because it implies you are not already whole. It implies a lack.
Exactly. It creates a structural collapse of present moment transcendence. If you are focused on the future, on the next density, the next life, the next level of vibration, you are vacating the premises of the now. And the now is the only place where true liberation exists. The exit door is not at the end of the hallway. The exit door is right here. But you're running so fast toward the horizon that you blur right past it.
So we have a false history that manipulates our nostalgia. We have a controlling diet that locks us in our bodies. And we have a metaphysical promise that keeps us chasing the future. This leads us to the paradox of control.
New cage, same bars.
This is the irony that really gets me. This whole movement starts as a critique of the church. It says, The church controls you. The church uses fear. The church tells you you're born in sin.
And then it establishes a system that is arguably more controlling. That's the mirroring the enemy concept. It's projection. It critiques institutional control, but replaces it with an elite purity path.
Think about it. In the Catholic Church, you have to go to confession, maybe say a few Hail Marys, try to be a good person, and show up on Sunday. It's manageable for most people.
Right.
In this Essene New Age synthesis, you have to monitor every bite of food, every thought, every emotion. If you get angry, you've lowered your vibration. If you get sick, it's karmic debt or toxicity.
Instead of a priest telling you you're a sinner, your own diet tells you you're low frequency. That is a much more invasive form of control.
Much more.
Because the priest lives at the church. You can leave the church. Your diet lives in your kitchen. Your thoughts live in your head. You can't escape it. It is a panopticon, where you are both the guard and the prisoner.
And it creates what the source calls the sovereignty cap. It democratizes divinity. It says anyone can be Christ, but there is a massive asterisk. Anyone can be Christ if you follow this specific, rigorous lifestyle dogma.
It's a conditional divinity, and that creates guru dependency. The claim is Christ's state via a specific path. This suppresses your sovereignty. You stop trusting your own intuition. You stop trusting your own body.
You start trusting the protocol. You start trusting the teacher who sells the supplements or the books on the Essene Gospel.
You externalize your innate recognition, deep down what is true for you. But this system teaches you to override that knowing with the rules of the frequency. I feel like eating this, but the book says it's dead food, so I must be wrong. I feel angry, but anger is low vibe, so I must suppress it.
You learn to distrust yourself.
And that is the ultimate victory of the containment mechanism. A prisoner who polices themselves is the perfect prisoner. You don't need guards when the inmate is terrified of lowering their vibration.
It's tragic, really. We leave one abusive relationship just to enter another one that treats us slightly better but demands even more of our attention. So if we strip all this away, if we acknowledge the history is shaky, the diet is a control mechanism, and the reincarnation narrative is a delay tactic, what is left? How do we break the containment? We need to talk about the rebellious synthesis.
We need to look at the alternatives briefly, just to show that this isn't the only game in town. Because once you see how limited this Essene synthesis is, the other options start to look a lot more interesting.
Right. It's helpful to contrast, take radical Gnosticism, for example.
Radical Gnosticism rejects the realm entirely. It says the world is a trap. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to purify the body. The body is a prison uniform. Escape. That's a stark contrast to the Essene idea of merging heaven and earth.
Or non-dual Advaita. This is the philosophy that says you are already the self. There is no path. There is no one to walk the path.
That denies the progressive purification entirely. If you are already the self, why are you drinking wheatgrass juice to become the self? You're just chasing your own tail.
And then there's chaos magic, which views beliefs as tools. I'll use this belief when it's useful and discard it when it's not, versus the Essene stance of this is the one true path.
And even Stoicism. Indifference to cosmic reward. The Stoic does the right thing because it is rational and just, not because they're chasing fourth density or a better reincarnation. They don't need a cookie from the universe to behave well.
So with those perspectives in mind, what is the escape protocol? How do we actually get out of the high-frequency prison?
Okay, step one. Recognize deferral as the trap. Stop waiting for the future. Stop waiting for the event. Stop waiting for the ascension. If your spirituality is based on something that is going to happen, it is a deception. Real spirituality is about what is happening now.
That's a hard one to swallow. We love the future. Hope is a powerful drug. It gets us out of bed in the morning.
Hope is the leash. Hope implies you're not enough right now. Step two. Refuse future-oriented lures. Reject the carrot. If a being or a book or a teacher tells you, you will be free in the next life or you will be free when the planet shifts, you walk away. You assert that freedom is available now or it is not freedom.
And step three.
Reclaim immediate non-negotiable sovereignty. You do not need a diet to be divine. You do not need a 2,000-year-old forgery to be valid. You do not need to be purified to be worthy. You simply are.
That's the radical shift. It feels almost dangerous to say it.
It is dangerous.
Yeah.
It's dangerous to the system. The ultimate realization is this. No path, no prerequisite, no harvestable frequency remains when attachment to resolution cycles is severed.
Harvestable frequency. Let's pause on that term for a second. That sounds ominous.
It is. It implies that you're wanting. Your desire to ascend, your fear of not being pure enough is energy. It is louche. It is food for the system. A system that feeds on your longing needs you to keep longing.
So if you are satisfied, if you are sovereign, you produce no energy for the parasite. You become invisible to the control grid.
Yes. When you stop trying to solve yourself, you realize there was never a problem to begin with. The problem was the search for the solution.
Precisely. We've seen how a beautiful story about Jesus, health, and peace can actually be a high-frequency cage. It's wrapped in love and light, but the bars are made of guilt and waiting.
It trades the sin of the church for the toxicity of the new age, but it keeps the guilt and the waiting. It's the same software running on new hardware.
You know, I want to circle back to the somatic trap for a moment because I feel like we need to really drive this home. We talked about the mental bandwidth, but I want to talk about the separation it creates, the emotional levers of superiority.
Oh, the hidden drug. The spiritual ego. It's potent.
The source mentions that this system positions adherents as cosmic vanguard.
This is the trap of the lightworker identity. I am not just a person. I am a starseed. I am here to hold the frequency for the planet. The sleepwalkers out there, the normies eating their cooked food, they don't understand. But I do.
It feels good to be the vanguard. It masks the insecurity. It flips the script from I am an outcast to I am the elite.
But it separates you from humanity. The paradox is that these paths talk constantly about oneness, but the structure creates deep, deep separation. I am high vibe, you are low vibe. I am awake, you are asleep.
It builds a wall, not a bridge, and it makes you lonely. You end up in a silo, surrounded only by people who agree with your specific delusion. And anyone who questions it is attacking you or is an agent of the dark.
That's the defense mechanism. If you criticize the diet, it's because your entities are reacting to the light.
It's a closed loop. You cannot penetrate it with logic because logic is dismissed as a mental matrix tool. That's why we call it a high-frequency prison. The walls are invisible, but they are impenetrable.
Until you decide to walk through them. Because they are made of thought. They are made of belief. They are not real.
And that's what we're doing here. We are poking the walls to show that they are holograms. We are showing you the projector. The projector is the new old faith. The projector is the forgery. The projector is the fear of death and the fear of life.
Turn off the projector.
And see what's actually there.
Which is you.
You. Just you. Breathing. Existing. No nodes. No vibrations. No karma. Just presence.
And that is enough.
It has to be.
You know, thinking about the listeners who might be deep in this, who have the juicers, the books, the crystals, this might feel like an attack.
I hope it feels like a rescue mission. But I know it feels like an attack. When you identify with the cage, breaking the cage feels like breaking you. That's the body identification lock.
But I want to say to those listeners, we aren't trying to take away your health. We aren't saying go eat junk. We are saying reclaim your mind.
Keep the juice. Ditch the dogma.
Exactly. Keep the meditation. Ditch the deferral. Use the tools, but don't worship the toolbox.
And look at the history with open eyes. If you can acknowledge that the Essene Gospel of Peace was written by a Hungarian philosopher in the 1930s and you still find wisdom in it, great. That's sovereignty.
Yes. Then you are reading it as philosophy, not as the command of God. You are the judge. You are the arbiter. You stripped it of its power to control you.
It's when you surrender your critical faculties that you enter the danger zone. Bafflement is the enemy. Never be baffled. Always ask, where did this come from? Who wrote it? What do they want from me? Does this empower me now or does it make me wait?
The wait is the tell.
The wait is the trap. If you are waiting, you are not living.
Leaving the casino. I like that analogy we touched on earlier.
The Essene synthesis promises you the jackpot. Just one more spin. Just one more lifetime. Just one more cleanse. You're almost there. But the house always wins until you walk out the door.
Any final thoughts on the red letters versus Pauline debate? It's such a wedge in this community.
It's the tool used to split the tradition. By demonizing Paul, they remove the theology of grace. Paul is all about grace unearned favor.
Right.
The Essene Jesus, in this synthesis, is all about merit-earned favor. If you remove grace, you are left with merit. And merit is a treadmill. You never have enough merit. You can always be purer.
So the New Age is actually a regression to a hyper-legalistic system.
It is. It's the Pharisees in yoga pants. It's the most rigid legalism disguised as liberation. You washed your cup on the outside, but inside you are full of cooked food.
Pharisees in yoga pants. That's going to stick with me. It's the obsession with the external rituals of purity while missing the internal reality of freedom.
And the irony is that Jesus, the historical Jesus, whoever he was, seemed to be fighting exactly against that kind of purity culture. It is not what goes into the mouth that defiles a man.
Well, what comes out of the mouth?
Exactly. The Essene hypothesis claims Jesus was an Essene, but the Essenes were obsessionists about purity. They lived in the desert to avoid contamination. Jesus lived among the tax collectors and sinners. He touched lepers. He drank wine. He broke the purity laws.
He shattered them. So the idea that he was actually the ultimate Essene is a contradiction of the text we actually have. It turns the rebel into the enforcer. It domesticates him.
It neuters him. It turns him into a safe wellness coach, instead of the wild, dangerous, liberating force of nature that he appears to be in the Gospels.
And we prefer the wellness coach.
Because the wellness coach gives us a plan. The wild liberator just says, follow me into the unknown. And we hate the unknown, so we build the prison to keep the unknown out.
And we lock ourselves inside.
Yeah. So, listeners, the sources are in the show notes. Don't take our word for it. Do your own research, but real research, not just reading the blogs that agree with you. Look at the dates. Look at the authors. Look at the logic.
Use your mind. It's the best tool you have. And trust your gut, if it feels like a trap.
It probably is.
And that's our deep dive for this week.
Remember, the most dangerous illusion is the one you don't know you're in.
But now you know. So here's our question for you. Knowing now that even the most beautiful promises of inner ascension and collective fourth density unity can function as high-frequency prison bars, what is the single spiritual teaching, practice, or higher truth you've been clinging to that you are finally willing to place under the same merciless scrutiny?
Let us know in the comments. Question the narrative. Deconstruct the dogma. See the system.
We'll see you next time. Stay skeptical.
Thank you for joining us.